welcome to another episode of Almost Martha. Today I am going to be making something that I'm going to take to a friend. She broke her wrist actually, and she needs some good comfort food to make her feel a little better. And I know she's not going to be cooking, at least right away in that condition. So I'm going to make a really nice quiche Lorraine to take over to her, and I'm going to go through those steps with you today. So we are going to begin with our ingredients. I have 1.5 cups of flour. I've got 8 tablespoons of salted butter. I have 1 egg yolk, and I'm going to use about 3 tablespoons of very cold water. So I just made some ice water that I can dig into. So now let's go ahead and dig in. This is really, really easy to make. When I'm thinking about making this, I thought, I can go to the store and I can buy a pie crust, but then why would I do that when it's just so easy to make it yourself? So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've got my my trusty food processor here. I'm just going to put in my 1.5 cups of flour. Okay. Now I'm going to take my butter in, about a tablespoon at a time. And this is right out of the fridge. It's nice and chilled. I'm just going to take a little hunk of butter. I'm going to start with a couple. Put it in here. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get all of my butter blended in. So at this point, once all of my butter is in there, you'll notice that it starts to have a little crumbly texture. It looks a little like meal, so that is good. Now I'm going to add my egg yolk right in there. Pulse that baby in. Now I'm going to start to add my ice water. So about 3 tablespoons. Remember, the more you pulse, the warmer it gets. You really don't want it to get too warm. That's why you're using that cold butter and ice water. Okay, really starting to form up in here. So now I've got my other. Okay. Now I'm going to take this. I'm going to make sure it's all getting that moisture. Now it's up to you about how much more water you want to add. Okay, very crumbly. I'm just going to add a little bit more. The dough has come away from the sides of the container. This is exactly what we wanted to happen. So you see it's actually beginning to form that dough, right? Perfect, perfect, perfect. I'm so tempted to add just this little, maybe just a tiny bit more water. Okay. So I think we're good. Looking for. So now, really, our dough is kind of done. So I'm going to get some trusty wax paper. And I'm going to dump this right on here. See how nice that came out of there? And here's my dough. Here is my beautiful pie crust. How great is that? How great is that? Okay. Now we're supposed to form it into a ball. I'm going to wrap it up in this wax paper. and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for a few minutes while I start my other section. So this is going to firm back up just a tiny bit, and then we're going to roll it out for our really nice quiche Lorraine. Okay, after you cook the 4 to 5 pieces of bacon that the recipe calls for, you're going to put the onion right into the bacon grease and fry that onion up in that bacon grease. And have I told you how much I love my induction top? It's so great. I love it so much. I used to have a gas stove. I've had electric in the past, but this induction is really the best. It heats up so quickly. It's beautiful. So now we're going to let that onion get cooked, and then we will begin to assemble our custard. So I have our 4 eggs, sort of lightly beaten. Let's get all of that as best we can. Okay. And we have our 4 strips of bacon. I cooked a little bit more. And remember, when you cook your onion in that bacon fat, just take most of the fat out and leave about a tablespoon to cook that onion. You really don't want that onion drowning in fat. So, even though it might be good, it might be good, but we won't do that. 3. I'm just going to crumble these up. You don't want bacon bits, right? You want bacon pieces. There. Okay. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Bacon's a good thing. Bacon's a good thing. Okay. So now that that's in there, I'm also going to add my salt. And I have about a half a teaspoon of salt. That goes in. This is that great pink salt I told you about. Really good stuff. Nutmeg. Sometimes I do grate my own nutmeg. But today I'm just going to use this. It's a little time saver. Put that right into the egg mixture. Stir that up. Now I've got my 2 cups of heavy cream. Okay. Really good. I have my 1 cup of cubed Gruyere. And that goes in. And you can add Tabasco. You also can add some salt and pepper. Well, salt you've already added, but we can also grind some pepper in here. If you want Tabasco, you can add Tabasco. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but this is not staying in our house, so I'm not going to assume they like it really spicy. So just a little bit of pepper. All that in there. Okay. My custard is good and ready to go. Now I'm going to prepare my shell. Okay, I'm going to add the onion that we talked about. All right. And now my custard is ready to go. And now we can begin to work on our shell. Okay, I have my oven is heating up to 400. And we're going to start to work on our shell. So here is our ball of pastry that we put in the refrigerator for a few minutes. I'm going to take my handy dandy rolling pin and start to get this pastry going. This is a really nifty little rolling pin I picked up. It's got like a meat tenderizer on one side. There's like a ruler on here, so if you have to ever measure anything, makes it really easy. It's okay. So I'm not using a traditional pie pan today. I'm gonna use something so I can give it to my friend and she doesn't have to worry to return it. You know, they sell all those things at Costco. So I don't like to reuse, you know, to go to containers. You can buy them at Costco. You can buy them at the grocery store. If ever you have to take food somewhere, if you're like me, which is pretty often. You know, I live in New York now, but I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. And whenever there was trouble, oh trouble, my mama, my mom would make a casserole and would make a cake and would take it over to that person's house so they felt much, much better. And I have to tell you, there is really something to that. There is something to the healing power of homemade food, or not even homemade, just something that you pick up at the grocery store and you take to someone when they're sick or they're bereaved or they're in trouble or they're depressed. There's really nothing like it. So these are good things to do. So luckily, I have a very small cake already prepared. So I'm going to take over this lovely quiche and a small little cake so that she doesn't have to worry about trying to get dinner together tonight or even breakfast in the morning. She can have it for breakfast as well because it's bacon and eggs after all. Okay. So I just reused my wax paper. I just had it down here, so I'm gonna peel it off and put it right in the tin in a minute. Okay, where are we? Okay, I think we're pretty good actually. So I'm gonna, don't have to spray anything. There's enough butter in this pastry. There always is, right? That's why pastry is so fattening in a pie crust. There's a lot of butter there. So now we just wanna get it in here. This is gonna be good. And it's sort of a nice and deep little pan. Now, I have to tell you, I don't always make the prettiest pie crusts, beautifully fluted and stuff like you find in a bakery, but I do what I can. And it is sort of important to make sure that you are crimping your crust right along this little pie plate or your pie pan, whatever you're using, because as it bakes and shrinks a little bit, this will kind of help to keep it in place. Okay. All right. So that's good. There's a little hole there. You can always kind of patch it up a little bit. Okay. We've got a nice deep pie shell. So I'm going to do what I can. I'm just going to kind of do this. You can buy a fancy crimper and stuff, I know, but one nice thing is they're going to know it's homemade. They see this kind of crust. Who would buy this kind of crust, right? But you know it's going to taste good. It is going to taste good. Okay, beautiful. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, okay, so one of the suggestions, by the way, I got this recipe from the New York Times. They have a great cooking section. So I've had this recipe a long time. This pie crust is also super easy to make. And one of the suggestions was to also just brush the inside of this crust with that egg white. If you remember, the crust had one egg yolk in it. This is the leftover egg white. So just brush it a little bit. You're gonna brush it along the top too. Just a little bit of that egg white. Okay. But now we want to par-bake this crust. So I'm going to take some parchment paper. No, I can't live without parchment paper. I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to use my pie weights. If you don't have pie weights, you can just use, you know, some dried beans. Come on now. There we go. But these are just little, you know, clay beans. I've had them for, wow, very long time. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in the oven at 400 degrees, and we're going to bake it for 10 minutes. Okay, here we are with our par-baked crust. I'm just gonna lift up parchment paper and I'm gonna dump these out. Now they're gonna be hot, so don't touch right away, right? And now that's good. We didn't have a lot of shrinkage, just a little bit, some over here. And now I'm just gonna pour this in. Okay. I'll stir it up a little bit, get all those nice things together. I'm gonna pour it right in my shell. Well, it's a good thing this baby was deep, right? You know, I'm kind of there's a tad left. So I'm just gonna keep this here and I'm gonna do something a little special with it. But here it is. Here's my beautiful quiche. I'm gonna drop just one more piece of cheese in there. Just kind of move everything around. Oops, 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 oops. Little oopsie there. Right on the side. Don't tell anybody. Okay. Well, it's gonna burn a little bit. Oh well. Even Julia Child made mistakes, y'all. That's all I have to say. All I have to say. Okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna put this in the oven where it's gonna bake on 375 for about 50 minutes. So I wasn't gonna do this because I didn't think I had enough mixture, but I have this leftover pie dough. So I'm gonna just put it in the bottom of a small dish. And I'm gonna make myself a little bit of a tasting quiche. So I've got my pie crust and I've got this. I don't think I'm gonna bother to par-bake it because this is really just for me to kind of try it out. So I'm just gonna pour this right in here. The other was so full. So now I'm gonna have a little tasting quiche. And especially if you're gonna, be taking something to somebody else, boy, it's really nice to be able to taste what you're giving them and you don't have to worry about it being good, right? So now I'm gonna have my little safety check. Okay, here we go. It's the moment of truth. I actually, because this is a fan-assisted oven, it really didn't take the whole 50 minutes. It took a little less than 45. So I just want to make sure my custard is all done. And I'm going to do that by just taking a knife, sticking it through. And if it comes out clean, then it's good to go. So it's just a little moisture, but it's not like there's an egg coating or anything on here. So I think it's good. I think my quiche is good. And moments ago, I pulled this out of the oven. So this is our little baby quiche that we're going to get to test. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to let that quiche rest. And for a little tester, oh, look at that. That's great. Came out beautifully. So let's just give this a little cut. It's still really hot, right? Oh yeah. Crust is perfect. And the inside is very nice and creamy and delicious. So I think we have a winner. I think we have a winner. I think she's really gonna enjoy the Quiche Lorraine. So I hope you do too. It was nice and easy. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you next time. Bye, Mom. Don't forget to go to almost-martha.com for the full recipe, and you can make your very own Quiche Lorraine.